90 plus minutes in that English Premier League game at Anfield between Liverpool and Brighton, and the visitors leading 1-0. We'll tell you all about it in our EPL segment, which comes up later on in the show. But cricket is what we'll continue with at this point, because we are just over 24 hours away from the start of the 4-test series between hosts India and England. The first test is set for the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai, and the action will be live on SportsMax from 11 p.m. in Jamaica, midnight in the Eastern Caribbean. The teams are playing for the Anthony de Mello Trophy. Of course, the spiritual healer and psychotherapist is whom the test series is named in honor of. Now, the India vice captain Ajinkya Rahane is still on a high from his and the team's heroics in Australia. Says it will be good to have regular skipper Virat Kohli back in the side.
See, my job is to take a back seat and try and help Virat. As a captain, there are too many things in captain's mind. So as a vice captain, you have to visualize the situation, think about what can happen in the game, and then if captain asks you for some suggestions, you should be ready. So my job is really easy. I take a back seat. Whenever required, I'll go and tell him, or whenever he asks me about certain things, I'll just go and tell him. So it's all about, I think, that helps us a lot. For me, personally, I generally take a back seat whenever I'm the vice captain. We are thinking about playing as a unit. Yes, Virat is back, which is really positive sign for us. He's been batting really well, and you know his record. So we are really happy that he is back. Ben Stokes and Archer, they are really good players. They did really well for England. So it's not about any individual. I think it's all about the team. England team, they're a very, very good team, balanced team, and they did really well recently against Sri Lanka. So for us, what is important that we plan against all their guys and just play as a team here and back our strengths.
Yeah, that's Ajinkya Rahane. Now, the England captain Joe Root will be playing his 100th test, only the 15th Englishman to reach the milestone, if he does, when he does. The 30-year-old, who made his debut in India back in 2012, is fourth on England's all-time test run scorers list, and it says there's more to come from him.
As soon as you start standing still as a batter, the rest of the world will, or the opposition will catch up. There's so much information now, so many trends and different things that teams can look at, and the more you play, the more evidence there is. So I think it's really important that you evolve with the game. The game's always changing, whether that's the impact of the other formats, but Test cricket will always challenge you in different ways. There'll be new guys come on the scene that you've never seen before, even if you're an experienced player. There'll be also guys who have got you out a number of different times and overcoming that mental hurdle and that barrier that wasn't necessarily there in the past. So there's always a different challenge. There's always something there that will test you. Along with, even media scrutiny at times, being able to manage that, whether it's ex-players that you really respect going through your game and picking it to pieces. It's all part and parcel of the journey and being a test player. And it's something that you have to understand, really. It's not something that you can experience in county cricket. So using the people around you, having a real clear understanding of what's going on, what's actually happening, and really trusting that is really important.
Liverpool losing 1-0 to Brighton in the English Premier League, and you just heard there from England's bow-legged blockbuster captain Joe Root. Well, joining us to preview the match and the series is our English-based correspondent David Brooke. Sir David, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm really well, George, especially hearing you announce the Brighton score with just a few minutes to go. That's my team.
That's your team?
That's my local team.
Excellent, excellent. I've been a fan of Brighton for a while too, especially when Bobby Zamora was scoring goals for them for fun.
Yes. Absolutely, yeah. They're just hitting form at the right time.
There you go, chap. Well, congrats to you on that victory at Liverpool in the EPL. Let's talk some cricket, though, because Joe Root and his men have a big assignment on their hands, David. The permutations are clear if England want to play New Zealand in that World Test Championship finale at Lord's in June. Can they do it?
It's going to be very tough for England. I mean, both teams are in really good form. England are a much better team than they were last time they played in India. They've really strengthened their test match squad, and they've got a really decent Test match team, but I would see India with their home record still being too strong for England. It's going to be much closer than the last time they played in India, where India won 4-0. But I just don't think that England will do it. I'm sure that the bookmakers are right in putting India as strong favourites. England 10-1, I beg your pardon, to win the series. So they're not rated by the bookies. And I think India, with their firepower and the strength in depth that they showed in that wonderful series against Australia, they're coming on a roll, and I think they're going to be too strong for England.
Which is the weak unit in the England lineup, David, that these India boys are set to exploit?
Well, I think it'll be the spinners. I mean, the last time England won in India was the tour before last, back in 2011, 2012. Graham Swan and Monty Panesar were the two spin bowlers. This time we've got two to choose from: Dom Bess, Moeen Ali, and Leach. And I think Leach and Bess, well, they showed what they can do against Sri Lanka, but I don't think they're of the quality of the Indian spin bowlers. And that will be the weakness, the quality of England's spin attack.
David, Zach Crawley earlier today, of course, news coming out that he slipped outside his room and, of course, damaged his wrist, and he is probably set to miss this massive match. How big of a miss will he be for the England team?
It would be unfortunate for Zach Crawley, but I don't think it's going to be too big a miss, because he struggled against the spinners in Sri Lanka just now, just come off that 2-test series where he didn't get many at all. And England will have in reserve, they've got obviously Ben Stokes coming back into the team. He was rested for the Sri Lanka series, so Ben Stokes will be back. They've got Dan Lawrence, and they've got Ollie Pope coming back in as well. So they've got cover. England will be without Johnny Bairstow, who for some reason wasn't picked for this series. And of course, Joss Buttler will only be there for the first test under England's rotation policy. So, but as far as Zach Crawley is concerned, it's unfortunate for him. We're waiting to see, the extent of the injury, really. But I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker.
Do you think Joe Root is going to fire with the bat? Of course, this will be his 100th Test match, and he knows how to make centuries against India. He did it twice in recent years, if we want to check 2014 and then 2018. Are we expecting a big knock from him?
I think we are, Mariah, because he's been in fantastic form. He's rediscovered his form with that double century and a century in the 2-test series against Sri Lanka. So he's just coming back to form. England are expecting a lot from him. The way he played the spinners, sweeping every ball and showing his class. He was a league apart the rest of the England lineup. The real question is, can anyone stay with him? And will there be? England will need some other big run scorers. They're going to have to score 400 plus consistently in the series to stay in that series.
Yeah, David, let me follow up on Mariah's point about Root and another key player we expect in the series. Just how good is Joe Root at a world level, and even historically speaking? Because it was almost unnoticed for me that he had gone past Gower, Peterson, Atherton, Boycott in the list of all-time scorers for England. Yeah,
and there's no reason why he can't overtake Sir Alistair Cook and be the leading run scorer, because he's only 30. He's a very calm character, fantastic temperament. But by his standards, he's been out of form for the last couple of years. So the way that he returned to form in that Sri Lanka series, and really scoring big, and he had that a little bit of a break caused by the gap in the schedule, and he really worked on his game, and he's come back better than ever. So you've got to put him up there in the top 4, haven't you? Now he's back there with Williamson and Kohli and co, having possibly dropped out of contention for a while. So the way he played the spinners, Lance, I mean, it was in a different class to everyone else. He just seemed to be able to deal with whatever was put in front of him. And it'll be a great tussle, Ashwin against Joe Root. Of course, India missing my favourite player, Jadeja. whenever he plays for India, India win, and he's going to be out of the first 2 tests because he's injured. So he hasn't made the squad for the first 2 tests. The question is whether he comes back in for the 3rd test, because he's a really strong card for India, isn't he? But what India have shown is their incredible strength in depth. We saw virtually an India A side doing so well in that last couple of tests in Australia, and so they've really got a fantastic squad coming into this series.
Yeah, George was speaking highly of Jadeja on yesterday's show as well. Jofra Archer, I was reading a preview today which suggested that Jofra will be very comfortable in India, David. Of course, he did do a lot for his entire career with his outstanding first 2 campaigns in the IPL. And not that he hadn't shown promise for Sussex in the English League, but his success in the IPL, I think, against international quality players was the stamp of approval that this player was for real. How do you think he will impact this series, the Barbados-born Jofra Archer?
Yeah, I think it's great that he's had some time off. Because there's a danger of overusing him. So he's going to come into this series fresh. As you say, he's had great success already in India. I expect him to do really well, and I would expect him to get that movement at pace. He's going to be quite a handful. And, England will have the situation of do they support him with either Broad or Anderson? They probably won't play both. So to be able to leave out one of those 2 is a sign of England's, strength in the fast bowling department. And Jofra Archer will be the spearhead for sure.
Okay, David Brookwell, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us, and we'll see how the test series go. Looking forward for some good storylines. Take care.
And nice to see you, Mariah. Thank you.
All right, David Brooke there, of course, always a good conversation with him. Well, as we go to the break, the 4-match test series against England and host India is set to start in February 4 in Chennai. Will India win? Send us a voice note to be played on the show later today.